Alrighty, I'm standing in front of St. Louis Catholic Church in the small little tiny hamlet of St. Louis, Oregon, out in the middle of the Willamette Valley in Marion County, Oregon. This is one of the oldest churches in the state of Oregon. This particular church has been here since 1880, believe it or not, so it goes a long ways back. This church property, actually, before this current structure was erected, there was a small log cabin that served as the initial church, and that log cabin church was built back in 1845, and at some point that log cabin burned down and they ended up erecting this current structure that you see. So this nice old beautiful church has been here since 1880. Give you a little side view of this church. It's a nice evening today. It's just beautiful. It was raining earlier today, storming, and then it cleared up, and turned out to be a pretty nice evening. But this is a little shot of St. Louis, Oregon. It's a tiny little town. I don't even know what the population demographic is. I looked it up online and there's no population number listed, but suffice it to say it's awfully small. It's probably maybe 150 people, if that, maybe somewhere 150, maybe less than that. But it's a small little town. There's no store, no post office, basically no commercial activity at all. And also, my little sidekick is not with me today, Miss Brenda. I know this is Brenda's channel, but I'm out here just doing my own thing today because Miss Brenda has been having some anxiety issues. Ever since we returned to Oregon recently, she's been having severe anxiety at the apartment community in which we live. So I ended up taking her to the vet last week, and she's, believe it or not, Brenda's on Prozac now. She's taking Prozac and she's taking gabapentin in an effort to get her anxiety better controlled and better managed. So hopefully the medication takes effect. But in the meantime, I have Brenda staying at a boarding facility out in Monmouth, Oregon, which is about 35 miles from here. So actually, Brenda's been there for a week already, and I'm supposed to pick her up tomorrow, and we'll see how the medication's doing, and we'll see how best we can manage her anxiety moving forward. But she's been having a tremendous amount of anxiety at the apartment just because of the upstairs neighbor. We live on the first floor, and then the second story above us, the tenant, he's not overly loud or anything, but just the normal apartment noises, the creaking sounds. If he drops something on the floor, or every time he stomps around, the sound comes penetrating through the ceiling. So it sends Brenda jumping out of her skin, unfortunately, poor thing, because she's a very sensitive dog. So suffice it to say, Brenda's medicated now and she's at a boarding facility. So I'm just here hijacking her channel. Give you a little bit of a side view, but this old church is just really nice. It sort of reminds me of the Little House on the Prairie. The old TV show Little House on the Prairie, where you see the old church that they used to go to in that fictitious town of, Walnut Grove, Little House on the Prairie. Kind of reminds me of that old church, or a church that you'd see back in the pioneer days. This church was actually started by a Jesuit missionary, a Jesuit priest from France, basically, who came out here back in the 1840s to start ministering to some of the local pioneer families in the area. This church sits in an area called French Prairie. This is in the middle of the Willamette Valley, but it's a small little subsection of the Willamette Valley called French Prairie. And the area was settled back in the 1820s, 1830s, primarily by French Canadian fur trappers. They were French Canadians, predominantly from Quebec, I believe, in the area around Quebec, Canada. And they migrated to this area, and they were predominantly fur trappers, and they worked for the various fur trading companies. And the church itself, St. Louis Catholic Church, as well as the community, St. Louis, Oregon, they were both named in honor of the King of France, King Louis. And before the church was constructed, there used to be a cemetery right here, right where the church building stands. There was a cemetery here, but when they ended up putting in the road way back when, they ended up having to move that cemetery. So they relocated that cemetery, and the current cemetery sits a few hundred yards back behind the church. And I haven't been over there yet, but that's where the current cemetery is. So they ended up moving it from the original location here. And from what I understand, I've done some research and I've read different things. I don't know if it's true or not. This may just be urban legend, but supposedly when they relocated the cemetery, they didn't relocate all the graves. So I read a few things that seem to indicate that there may be a few gravestones still, in the original location, meaning right underneath the church. I don't know if that's true or not, fact or fiction, but I read that on more than one occasion. So there may be a little bit of truth to that, but who knows? So